I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife of 10 years turned out to be a cheating bitch behind my back. Honestly, I thought we had a pretty solid marriage. Sure, we had our fights like any couple, nothing unusual. But I always believed that we talked through things, that we were honest with each other. That's what made it so brutal when I found out, because it wasn't some random affair. It was with my best friend, Mike. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. How did I not see it? How did I miss the signs? Well, I'll tell you, because looking back now, there were little things. She'd be overly defensive when I asked about her phone, always had an excuse. Said she was tired or nothing, when I caught her sneaking around with her screen hiding her messages. She'd be flirty with Mike at parties and I'd brush it off, telling myself she was just being friendly. Maybe I was just blind or in denial. Things started feeling off about 6 months ago. She began acting distant, pulling away when I tried to get close. She'd cancel plans last minute, say. She was exhausted or working late. But I'd find her out at the gym or visiting her sister, which was fine. The problem was, she'd come home late smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. Once I caught her in the bathroom when she thought I was asleep, trying to wipe lipstick off her neck. That was a wake-up call I never wanted to get. Trying to confront her about it only made things worse. She'd lie, deny, call me paranoid or jealous, said I was crazy for even suspecting her. She told me I was imagining things, that I was just insecure, that she loved me, that I was her everything. But somehow I knew. I could feel it in my gut. Something was wrong. I kept quiet for a while, thinking I was overreacting, maybe just stressed out from work, from life. But the doubt never left. It gnawed at me every day, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the woman I married, the woman I trusted with everything, was sleeping with my best friend. Then, last weekend, it all snapped. I was cleaning the garage, doing my usual Saturday chores, and I found her phone lying on the kitchen table. I saw a message pop up on the screen, something about seeing each other tonight, and a photo of her and Mike in a bed, her hand on his chest, looking like they just finished. My stomach dropped. I froze. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That moment right there changed everything. I stared at the screen, feeling my world collapse around me. It was like I had been hit with a sledgehammer. My mind went blank. I felt this surge of betrayal so overwhelming I thought I might throw up. I had to sit down. It was the kind of pain that makes your head spin and your heart race at the same time. I kept staring at that message, trying to process what it meant. My wife Linda had been lying to me for months. She was sleeping with Mike, my best friend, and she just did it right before our anniversary. I kept asking myself, how could I have missed all the signs? How could I have been so blind? All those late nights, the excuses, the intimacy she's been hiding from me, they all felt like lies now. I knew I couldn't keep quiet. I needed to confront her. I waited until she came home from work, trying to keep my composure, but I was shaking inside. I had the evidence. I was ready to put an end to this lie, this betrayal. When she walked into the house, I was sitting on the couch, her phone in my hand. She saw it, her face went pale, and she asked what I was doing. I just looked at her and said, "We need to talk, now." I didn't even yell, I just knew I had to get it out. Truth was staring me in the face, and I wasn't going to pretend anymore. She looked at me for a long moment, eyes wide with shock and defiance all at once. Her lips trembled like she was trying to come up with some excuse, but there was nothing that could cover what I'd just seen. I never thought I'd be in this position, standing there with her phone in my hand, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. Linda finally broke the silence, her voice sharp and defensive. "What are you talking about? You're crazy, Steve. You're overreacting as usual. That's just a stupid joke, or maybe someone's playing a prank. You're imagining things, you always do." Her words stung, but I wasn't buying it. She was lying, trying to brush it off, but her face betrayed her. The guilt was plain in her eyes, even if she was trying to hide it behind that bitchy, dismissive attitude. I stared at her, my mind racing. I felt a mixture of anger, heartbreak, and confusion all fighting inside me. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she pretend everything was normal after what I'd seen? I asked her directly, "How long has this been going on?" Her response was quick and venomous. "It's none of your business. I don't owe you an explanation. Mike and I were just friends, okay? We've been talking, yes, but that's it, just talking." She scoffed, rolling her eyes like I was some jealous idiot who didn't understand how women work. But I knew better. I knew that just friends shit was bullshit. That picture told me everything I needed to know. I asked her why she did it, why she cheated on me, right before our anniversary, no less. Her answer: "You're just so boring. Steve, you work all the time, you don't pay attention to me anymore. Mike, he's exciting, he makes me feel alive. You don't get it. I needed something different, something real." Her voice dripped with condescension, like I was just some guy she could use and discard. That's when the anger really started bubbling up. How could she be so callous? How could she turn something so painful into some kind of excuse? I felt my fists clenching, my heart pounding in my chest. I asked her if she'd ever loved me, if I was just some safe option, a security blanket she was trying to hold onto while she fucked around behind my back. Her reply: "Love, please, that's just a stupid word. I don't love anyone. I do what I want when I want, and right now I want Mike." I wanted to smash something, but instead I just stared at her. I realized I had to get out of there. I told her I never wanted to see her again, that I was done with her lies, done with pretending I was okay with being some fool who got played for a fool. She rolled her eyes, again sneering, and said, "Whatever, Steve. You'll get over it. You always do. You're so predictable." That was the moment I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't just walk away quietly. I couldn't let her twist this around and make it look like I was the crazy one. The betrayal was too deep. I needed to know if there was more. I needed proof. So I grabbed her phone and started scrolling through her messages, her photos, everything I could find. I wanted to understand how long she'd been sneaking around, how many times she'd been with Mike. I felt sick doing it, but I knew I had to because I couldn't trust her anymore. As I scrolled, I found message after message, flirty, suggestive, explicit. Things that made my blood boil. They'd planned secret meetups, told each other how much they wanted to be together, how they'd keep this thing hidden from me. And the worst part: she kept lying to my face, telling me she loved me, saying I was her everything. It was all bullshit, every word, every fake smile, every "I'm tired" excuse. I didn't sleep that night. I kept staring at her. Messages, feeling my world shatter piece by piece. The woman I loved, the woman I married, she was a toxic, manipulative liar. And Mike, my supposed best friend, I never thought he'd betray me like that. I thought we were tight, even when I had doubts about her. And now I felt like I didn't even know who they both really were. That's when I realized I had to confront them both, but I also knew I needed a plan. I couldn't let this slip by without consequences. This wasn't just some minor mistake. It was theft of my trust, my respect, my dignity. I was angry, yes, but more than that, I was hurt. Deep down, I knew my marriage was over and I felt totally lost. What do you do when your wife, your best friend, not only cheats but does it with such blatant disregard? I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to stay quiet. Not anymore. The next day, I knew I had to get myself together because there was no way I could just burst into that house again, angry and unprepared. I spent hours going over everything in my head, trying to figure out what my next move should be. Honestly, I was in shock. The betrayal was so deep that I was questioning everything about us, about me. Had I missed signs? Was I really that blind? Or was I just too in love, too trusting? I kept asking myself those questions, but the truth was I knew what I saw. I knew what it meant. I also knew I had to be smart about this. Confronting her right away, without a plan, would only give her the chance to spin her lies, cry, or worse, threaten me. I needed proof, and I needed it solid. So I decided to do a little digging into her phone logs, her email, and her social media accounts. I didn't want her to catch me sneaking around, so I was careful. I didn't want to give her the chance to destroy what little dignity she had left. I looked for any signs of cheating, any hidden conversations or secret plans. What I found was even more disgusting than I expected. Her messages with Mike were more explicit than I imagined. Plans to meet at hotels, talk about how good it felt to be with someone who really gets her, and even some dirty talk that made my stomach turn. The thing that stabbed the worst was how she was lying to my face all along. She tell me she was working late or out with friends while she was with him. Sometimes she'd even send me fake photos, pretending she was with me, all the while planning her next rendezvous with Mike. By the time I finished my investigation, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut 100 times over. The woman I married, the woman I spent a decade with, had been sleeping with my best friend. They'd betrayed me in the worst possible way, right before our anniversary. It was like a punch to the heart every time I replayed that image of her in bed, her hand on Mike's chest, her face flushed with pleasure. I'd never felt so hollow and angry at the same time. I knew I couldn't just let her get away with it. I wasn't the kind of guy who could just pretend nothing happened. I had to confront her, but I wanted to do it face to face, with everything laid out on the table. So I waited until she came home that evening, heart pounding in my chest. When she walked through the door, I was already sitting on the couch, her phone in my hand. Her eyes widened like she knew what I found, and her whole body tensed. I looked at her and said, "Linda, I know everything. I know about you and Mike. How long has this been going on? Tell me the truth." Her face twisted into that familiar bitchy smirk. She tried to act innocent, like I was just imagining things or blowing things out of proportion. "Oh, stop it, Steve. You're crazy. You're always overreacting. I don't know what you think you saw, but you're making a big deal out of nothing." I didn't buy her bullshit. I could see the guilt in her eyes, her nervous twitch, her refusal to meet my gaze. I pushed her, asking her again, how long? Did she ever really love me? Did I mean anything to her? Her response was cold and dismissive. "Love? That's just some stupid word. I don't love anyone, especially not you. I told you I was bored and Mike made me feel alive. That's what I wanted, so I took it. And honestly, I don't care if it hurts you. It's not like you're some perfect husband." Her words cut deep. I felt like I was about to lose my mind. How could she be so callous, so heartless? I told her I was done, that I was leaving, that I never wanted to see her again. She just shrugged and said, "Whatever, Steve. Do what you want. You'll forget about this tomorrow." That moment, I realized she had no remorse, no regret, only contempt. I knew I had to do something more, something to make her see just how badly she had screwed up. I couldn't just walk away from this without leaving a mark. I reached for her phone, started reading through her texts again, and I realized I needed to document everything: screenshots, saved messages, anything I could use later. I didn't want her to gaslight me, to deny what I saw. I wanted her to face the consequences of what she'd done. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was haunted by the images, the betrayal, and the hollow feeling that I'd lost not just my wife, but my best friend too. I wondered how I got to this point, how I let it happen. I kept asking myself if I should try to fix this, or if I should just cut my losses and walk away. For the first time in my life, I felt completely lost, questioning everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the people I thought I could count on. The following days were a blur of chaos and heartbreak. I couldn't focus on anything except what I had uncovered. Everywhere I looked, I saw her, Linda, smiling in fake innocence, but I knew the truth now. That insincere face she put on when she was lying, that sharp, bitchy attitude she threw around whenever she felt cornered, she wasn't fooling me anymore. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of liberation, like I finally saw her for what she really was. Still, it didn't make it any easier. I was hurt to my core. I decided I had to have a serious talk with her. But I knew I couldn't do it without being prepared. I started thinking about how I wanted to confront her, what I wanted to say. I wanted her to know I wasn't just some fool who got played. I needed her to see how much she'd screwed up, how much she'd thrown away 10 years of marriage. I wanted her to feel the pain she inflicted on me, the damage she did to what we had. So I took my time. I set a trap, in a way. I knew her schedule, her habits. I knew she'd be at work until late, so I made sure she'd come home to an empty house. I wanted her to walk into her own betrayal. I set up my phone to record the moment I called her out, to catch her reaction. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, every dirty detail. When she finally arrived that evening, I was waiting. I didn't hold anything back. I showed her the evidence, screenshots, photos, the whole mess. Her face twisted with rage and defiance. "This is all a lie," she spat, trying to dismiss it, but I cut her off. "No, Linda, I saw it, all of it. How long has this been going on? Did you ever love me?" Her reply was a snide smile. "Love, that's just some stupid word you cling to. I don't love anyone. I just got bored and Mike made me feel good, alive. That's all there is to it." She looked at me like I was some fool, like she thought I'd just accept it and move on. I felt my blood boil. How could she be so arrogant, so dismissive? I told her I was done pretending, done being her fool. I said I was leaving, that I wanted her out of my life. Her reaction was a cold shrug. Whatever, Steve, you'll find someone else. You always do, she sneered. That phrase burned into my mind. She didn't care, she wasn't sorry, she didn't even try to deny it anymore. But I wasn't ready to let her completely control the narrative. I wanted her to understand the gravity of what she'd done. I started recording everything, her angry words, her accusations, her bullshit excuses. I even told her I was going to file for divorce because I couldn't live with this betrayal. She looked at me with contempt, like I was some kind of joke. And honestly, part of me felt like I was waking up from a long, painful dream. In the aftermath of that night, I made a decision. I would leave her, yes, but I'd also make sure she paid for what she'd done. Not just with a divorce, but by exposing her to everyone, friends, family, anyone willing to listen. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal. I wanted her to see how much damage she'd caused. I started gathering evidence, writing everything down, making plans. I also reached out to a lawyer. I wanted to make this official to protect myself legally and financially. It was a tough call, but I knew I couldn't go on pretending I was okay, not after what I'd discovered. I'd spent a lot of nights crying, feeling numb and broken, but somewhere inside I knew I had to be strong. Even if I was shattered, I had to rebuild without her. This whole experience has changed me forever. I used to believe in marriage, in trust, in love. Now I see it differently. I learned that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. And I learned that even when someone acts like a bitchy, manipulative liar, you have to stand your ground. You have to fight for yourself. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. I won't be living in a lie anymore. The days that followed were some of the loneliest of my life. I packed her clothes, her things, everything that reminded me of the woman I thought I knew. Every corner of the house felt tainted by her betrayal, like the walls were whispering lies. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and honestly, I didn't want to. All I could think about was how she lied to me for so long, how she played me with her bitchy smirk and stupid excuses. It made me question everything I'd ever believed about us, about trust, about love. I knew I had to get out of that house, to get some space, to breathe and clear my head. I made arrangements to stay with a friend for a few days, just to get away from the chaos. I felt like I had been robbed of my life, my marriage, my dignity. But I also knew I had to act quickly, to protect myself from her manipulation and any further damage she might try to do. The divorce papers were already drafted, and I was in the process of seeing a lawyer. I wanted this over, but I also wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, so I kept collecting evidence, keeping everything documented. It was a strange mix of anger and relief. I was furious that she could be so heartless, so indifferent to the pain she caused, but I also felt a strange sense of liberation. For the first time in years, I was finally seeing her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative bitch who thought she could walk all over me. I realized I'd wasted so much time trying to keep her happy, trying to pretend everything was perfect. But now I saw clearly. She didn't love me, she never did, and she never would. One night, I decided I needed to confront her one last time. Not because I thought she'd change, but because I wanted her to see the damage she'd done. I called her and told her I was coming over, that I needed to talk face to face. When I arrived, she was waiting for me with that same bitchy smirk, like she knew. She had control. I felt a mix of rage and disgust as I laid everything out, how I found her messages, how I knew about everything, how she'd lied from the start. Her reaction was typical: deflect, deny, blame me for being insecure. "You're just jealous because Mike and I have something real," she sneered. "You're such an idiot, Steve. You think I'm just going to sit here and take this? Please, I don't owe you anything anymore." Her words hit me like a punch in the gut, but I didn't let her see it. I told her I was done, that her words meant nothing, that I'd be filing for divorce soon, and that she'd regret ever messing with my life. She laughed at that. "Good luck with that, Steve. You'll realize I was never yours to begin with. You're just too blind to see it." That's when I knew she had no remorse, no regrets. She was just a selfish bitch who thought she was untouchable. I left her there. knowing I'd done everything I could to make her see what she'd lost, her marriage, her integrity, her dignity. Leaving that house was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I felt like I was walking out of my own life into an uncertain future. But I also felt free. For years, I'd been living a lie, and now I was finally waking up. I knew I had to focus on myself, on healing. It would take time, maybe a long time, but I was determined not to let her destroy me completely. I've realized that some people are just capable of tearing others down without a second thought, and some betrayals run so deep that they leave scars you can't see. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can stand up and walk away from toxic people, that no matter how much it hurts, I deserve better. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I won't be living in her shadow anymore. Now, I'm working on rebuilding my life piece by piece. I've cut out the lies and the fake smiles. I've cut out the people who only bring me pain. And I'm trying to remember that real happiness comes from within, not from someone who was just pretending to love me. Maybe someday I'll find someone who actually deserves my trust. But for now, I'm just trying to breathe, to heal, and to move on from the biggest betrayal of my life. In the end, I learned a lot about myself, even if I wish I hadn't had to go through all this pain to get there. Trusting someone blindly, especially after a decade together, was my mistake. I allowed her to manipulate me, to let my guard down, and in doing so, I lost the woman I thought I knew. But I also learned that I was stronger than her lies, stronger than the heartbreak, and capable of surviving something that almost broke me completely. I've come to accept that some relationships are just disasters waiting to happen, no matter how much you want them to work. I thought love was enough, but I see now that respect, honesty, and loyalty are the real foundations. Without those, everything crumbles. I don't regret the years I spent with her because they taught me what I don't want in life, what I refuse to accept anymore. Now, I focus on rebuilding what I lost, my sanity, my trust in myself, and my ability to believe in love again someday. I've started therapy, done a lot of soul searching, and most importantly, I've learned to listen to my instincts. I don't need someone who dismisses my feelings, who lies and cheats, and who treats me like I'm disposable. My advice to anyone reading this who might be going through something similar: trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how small. If someone is disrespecting you, lying to you, or making you feel less than you are, walk away, even if it hurts. Because that pain is temporary, but staying in a toxic situation can ruin you forever. Protect yourself. Love yourself enough to know your worth. I can't promise I'll forget the pain anytime soon, but I can promise I'll never let myself be so blind again. I'll take what I've learned and use it to grow stronger. And someday, I believe I'll find happiness again, not in someone who lies and betrays, but in someone who genuinely values me. Until then, I'll keep going, keep healing, and keep reminding myself that I deserve better. That's the last I want to say about it. Life's too short to waste on people who don't respect you. I've been through hell, but I've come out the other side, and I know now that I'm done living a lie.